The last video of Elisa Lam is deeply unsettling. It shows the 21-year-old tourist inside a hotel elevator, looking frantic. She's pushing a bunch of buttons and nervously peering into the hallway like she's hiding from someone. At one point, her hands move in strange, wild gestures. The elevator doors seem to be broken and just won't close, trapping her in this silent 4-minute show of what looks like pure panic. Soon after this was filmed, Elisa Lam disappeared. But the hotel she vanished from wasn't just any hotel. It was the Cecil, a place with a history so dark, some say the building itself is cursed. Is this just a tragic accident, or did the Cecil Hotel's creepy past have something to do with her death? Since it first opened back in 1924, the Cecil Hotel has been linked to at least 16 deaths that weren't from natural causes. Suicides, murders, and strange falls happened so often that by the 1950s, people were calling it the suicide. But out of all the grim stories from this hotel, Elisa Lam's is probably the most mysterious and haunting. The Cecil was supposed to be a fancy hotel for business travelers and tourists. But only 5 years after its grand opening, the Great Depression hit, and all that glamour vanished. The hotel's location, right on the edge of a poor area called Skid Row, started to shape its new identity, turned into a place for transients, a hangout for criminals, and a magnet for tragedy. The list of deaths is just relentless. In the 1930s alone, at least 6 people took their own lives there. Then, in 1944, a woman threw her newborn baby out of a window. In 1962, a woman jumped from the 9th floor and killed a pedestrian on the sidewalk below. The hotel's most infamous cold case is the murder of Goldie Osgood, a long-term resident who was brutally killed in her room in 1964. And then came the serial killers. In the 1980s, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, lived on the top floor while he was on his killing spree. In 1991, an Austrian serial killer named Jack Unterweger also checked into the Cecil. He murdered at least 3 women while he was there, supposedly picking the hotel as a twisted tribute to Ramirez. The Cecil wasn't just a building anymore. It felt like it had become a character in its own right, a predator that fed on death and despair. In January 2013, Elisa Lam checked in. She was a 21-year-old student from Canada on a solo trip down the West Coast. She was writing about her travels on her blog. Her posts showed a young woman with big dreams and a passion for exploring. But she was also open about her lifelong struggle with bipolar disorder and depression. She was staying at the Cecil, which had tried to clean up its image by rebranding part of the building as the Stay on Main. At first, she was in a shared room, but her roommates complained about her odd behavior. So she was moved to a private room. It was right after that move that she stopped making her daily calls home to her parents. On January 31st, 2013, Elisa Lam was officially reported missing. The police launched an investigation, but it was the release of that elevator video that made the case a global obsession. The footage was just so weird and creepy. Her frantic movements and the stuck elevator doors sparked endless theories. Was she hiding from someone? Was she having a psychotic episode? For 19 long days, there was no trace of her. Then, guests at the hotel started complaining. The water pressure was low, and the water was dark and tasted terrible. On February 19th, a maintenance worker went to the roof to check the large water tanks. Inside one of them, he found something horrifying: the naked body of Elisa Lam. The official coroner's report called her death an accidental drowning, listing her bipolar disorder as a major contributing factor. Toxicology reports showed she hadn't been taking her medication correctly, which could have led to a psychotic episode and explained her strange behavior. The leading theory is that, in a paranoid state, she tried to hide in the water tank and accidentally drowned. But the official story doesn't quite add up for everyone. How did she even get to the roof, which was supposed to be locked and had an alarm? And why was she naked? The case is still fiercely debated online. What do you think really happened to Elisa Lam? Let us know in the comments. Even though the coroner has closed the case, the mystery of Elisa Lam lives on. For a lot of people, her death will always be tied to the dark energy of the Cecil Hotel. They don't see her as a victim of a sad accident, but as the latest soul taken by a building with a violent and haunted past. The hotel, which has now been turned into an affordable housing complex, still stands in downtown Los Angeles, a quiet monument to all the tragedies it has seen. The story of Elisa Lam is a chilling reminder of the devastating reality of mental illness. But it's also a story that will forever be linked to the sinister reputation of the hotel she chose as her final stop.